Hello everybody, hello, welcome, and hello. I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger here at dansfish.com. We do this every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 Eastern for those who may be mountain challenged. Thanks for spending a little bit of your Wednesday evening with us. We appreciate it. Today, as always, we're going to do a shipping report. After that, we have a nice giveaway to tell you about, some chili Rasboras, which are amazing little nano fish. We'll get into that. And then I have a few items I want to highlight, a few neat fish that we have available here at Dan's Fish that I'd like to highlight. And then we'll get to your questions and comments and general fish geek out discussion. That's the docket for the day. So, things have been pretty darn good shipping wise. So far, we have had no reports that any fish that we have shipped this week have had any problems. That's as of about an hour ago. So if you reported, in the last hour, then I haven't heard yet. But I checked in with Johnny about an hour ago or so, and maybe an hour and a half. And we were clear for the week. So far, everything has arrived in good shape this week. I think there was one mix-up where we sent we were missing one fish in the box, like one of the fish didn't get in the box or something like that. But I think that's the only mix-up we've had so far this week, from what I've heard, as far as orders arriving in good shape. So that's awesome. Last Wednesday, from the shipments that we sent out last Wednesday, we now have the tally. And there was one cardinal tetra that arrived, but then passed away a little later. So we count that is our problem when that happens, unless the customer says it's obvious it was me, this thing happened. If the customer reports it, then we take the hit. And also really sad for super red crebensis. And the reason those didn't make it is those got delayed in Wyoming. Usually when things get delayed, it's not in Wyoming, which is good. But sometimes they get delayed here in Wyoming. And when that happens, they're literally sitting in a truck trailer outside in the freezing cold. And sometimes that does not go well. Actually, usually it does, believe it or not. I really think it's where it's positioned in the truck. If it's pushed up against a corner or something, or has two cold metal sides, or up against the side of the shelf, where the cold metal, the truck side, is right next to the bag, that can be rough because metal has a very high specific heat, and it gets very cold. It takes a lot more energy away than just the air does of the same temperature, right? So I think sometimes there's a case where a box just gets put on the truck in a place that's extra cold, and if it's a delay and it sits there overnight, then it can be a problem. But that's only 5 fish, and we sent a lot more than that out, so it's way less than 1% losses since I talked to you last week. So that's really good news. I do always want to send my condolences and apologies out to any customer that has a problem, even if it is just 5 fish out of way more than that. But when I look at the stats, we're doing pretty good. So that's the shipping report. 1 cardinal tetra, 4 super red crebensis. And that's from stuff that was shipped out last Wednesday of last week, and Monday or Tuesday of this week. That's the time frame that shipping report covers. For those that might be new, we do this every week. So our mission is to treat the fish humanely, source them humanely, maintain them, quarantine them, house them humanely here, and then ship them as humanely as possible to our customers. And we claim that by doing that, we're improving things. And that's our big claim. So one thing we do to show that we're actually doing what we say we do is every week we do a live stream, and in that live stream I give a shipping report. So I literally tell you things that went wrong, what percentage of the shipments arrived in good shape, or which fish had trouble, that kind of thing. And I do that because I think transparency is important. I think if you're claiming that you're making a difference and improving things, then you need to demonstrate that you actually are, because every company out there says that they care and that they're doing things properly and that they give the fish the best care and they're experts, and every company claims that. But I think it's important to actually demonstrate it. So that's why we do this live. And when I do that, what I'm doing is I'm putting myself out there and saying, here's what the problems are. And anyone could chime in at any time in the chat and say, he's lying. He's not telling you about this big loss I had or anything. You know, people can call me out and correct me live here in the chat. And so that's what we do for that kind of transparency. So if I did miss something, if your shipment did go out Wednesday of last week or Monday or Tuesday of this week, and you reported a loss up to about an hour and a half ago, which is when I got the last report from Johnny, and I did miss something that you reported, then please feel free to call us out here live. That's the whole purpose of this. But anyway, as far as I know, we're doing pretty good. So thanks to all our customers. Thanks to everyone that responds to us and lets us know what the temperature of the bags in the boxes were, the temperature of the water the fish are in was when they arrive, so that as we go through this changing seasons and this constantly shifting weather, we can really fine tune our heat pack choices and try to make sure that we're putting in the right heat packs for the right situation. Every situation's a little different. I personally assign all the heat packs to the boxes. So if there's something wrong, that's on me. That's not one of the crew that does that. That's my responsibility. So I want to know, and I really appreciate any feedback of they came in at this temperature or anything like that, anything at all, so that I can adjust things. And it's a little complicated. So we have to take into account the temperature here in Sheridan, Wyoming, that we're shipping from, the temperature in Billings, Montana, which is a layover they have on their way to the next spot, which is, where is it? Louisville. Yeah, Louisville, Kentucky. And so we need to know that temperature, and then we need to know the temperature of the customer's residence or wherever they're going, you know, the end drop-off point. So I have to look at all those shifting temperatures and figure out the right combination of heat packs so that they'll get to wherever they're going warm but not too warm, and get through any cold areas without getting too cold, and make all those judgment calls. So the constant feedback is super helpful in that process. So thanks everyone that's doing that. A lot of you are, and we really appreciate it. And we just ask, if you don't mind, not everyone can do this, I get it, but if you don't mind taking a quick temperature of the how warm the water is in the baggies that the little fishies are in when they arrive to you, and letting us know that, send us an email and let us know that, then we would really appreciate it. It really helps in our effort to make sure the fish are transported responsibly. So thank you to everyone that's doing that. Okay. So, there is something else I wanted to ask. We received a review recently where someone ordered a lot of fish from us, and everyone was doing fine except for the sunrise hyphen platies. And then, so I wanted to ask everyone that's bought those, how are they doing for you? For us, they're doing great. So we assume they're doing good for our customers as well. But if they're not doing good for our customers, if a lot of people are having a problem with those, I'd like to know that, so then I can dig in and try to figure out what that problem is. So I'm hoping this is a one-off or an uncommon occurrence, and that most people are having success with them long term. That's the sunrise hyphen platies, beautiful fish. But I'd like to know that. And then another thing that's a little funky, this one has me stumped. So about a week and a half ago, I think, a week to a week and a half ago, a customer received a Manicapuru redback angelfish from us. And they sent a picture, I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. And the color on it is very strange. It's something I've not seen before. It's like the black stripes that go up and down on that fish. The one that goes through the eye is black. The other ones are white. And Johnny and I are trying to figure out what that is. The fish seems to be doing fine. We didn't notice in our stock any that didn't have the normal black stripes. So has anyone else experienced that? If you got a Manicapuru redback angelfish from us in the last few months, that nice European strain that we're selling now, have any of the black stripes faded on you? My first thought was, oh, that fish is stressed, right? It's a new arrival and it's stressed, and it's gone into its stress color. But then I found out that the customer had had it for about a week, and the feedback that the customer gave was, it's swimming around fine, it seems to be doing great, it's just the color's weird. So I don't think it's stress. I might expect a funky color in the bag and shortly after release, but within a day or so, I'd expect those stripes to darken into their normal kind of black patterning. So I'm just curious about that. If anyone has experienced strange stripe patterns on any of the Manicapuru redback angelfish. All right, let's see what people are saying. About this, about if anyone gave me feedback about those angels or the hyphen. My adult Manicapuru angel stripes will lighten when stressed out, but then return to normal. Yeah, so maybe there's a long-term stressor in that tank where it is. Because I would expect that too, Matt. Like during shipping, sure, the stripes will fade, but I would have expected after a week, week and a half, even after a day, really, that they would have come back. So that's my thought as well. Huh. Well, I'm a little stumped about that one. Ladina White says, my neon green Kubatai Rasboras, CPDs, and Hillstream Loaches ordered last week are all doing great. Water temp was perfect. Those heat packs stayed warm 3 days after the delivery. Yeah, we do kind of overdo it with the heat packs, generally. Elser, question, best way to get rid of Hydra? I'll get to that, Elser. Right now I want to see if there was any other feedback on those questions I asked. Then we'll get to the giveaway, and then I'll read the other questions and comments. That's on the docket for the day. Sakana says, my 11 pygmy cories and 11 strawberry Rasboras arrived on Tuesday, healthy and happy. All right, good. I don't see anyone calling me out that I missed, that they had problems that they reported that I did not report. So that's good. In fact, I'm getting quite the opposite. This is nice. Critter Keeper. I'm sitting beside a tank of Kubatai Rasboras and hummingbird tetras from you. They were perfect when shipped and still thriving many, many months later. Oh, that's good to hear. That's what we're going for. That's why we do the things the way we do them. All that extra work. Well, I guess I should address this. Brandon says, you changed up the way Goodeids are sold. Seems like the price went up substantially. Yeah, so the trout Goodeids that we sold before were little unsexed, like 1-inch babies. But we recently were able to get some of these. These are big boy breeders. And we're able to sell them in trios. So they're big. We're able to sex them and sell them in trios. And so they were quite a bit more expensive. Yeah, it depends on the source we get them from. It depends on their size. It depends on if we can sex them, all that stuff. So things are always switching up in this industry. Like one day I might be able to buy little, 3/4 inch unsexed trout Goodeids at a good price because they're small and they're unsexed, and then I can sell them relatively cheap. And then that breeder's out. And then I stumble across some others and it's like, hey, these are big and they cost more, but I'm like, I'm still getting them because that's a fish people want. So when I can sell them cheap, I do. When I can't sell them cheap, I don't. It just really depends on how I can source them. Sometimes, in fact, lately I've been having to bring them in from Europe. And so the price has gone up a lot on that just because shipping them out of Europe is really expensive. And the prices on European stock is a lot more expensive. So, yep, they do. Things change constantly here. Depends on when I can get where I can get the fish from, and the way that the places I get the fish from are, if they're sending me trios, then I can sell them as trios, and that's awesome. Okay, I didn't see any other things that I missed any reports, so that's good. All right, with that, let's get to the giveaway. I figured this would make a lot of people happy. The giveaway is for some chili Rasboras. Chili Rasboras have been unavailable for quite a while, and I think that's because they're regulating the seasons when they can be collected and how many can be collected and such, so that resource is maintained responsibly. That's my sense of what's happening. I don't have any direct information on that. I just know certain times of the year they're not available and my supplier can't get them. So I'm assuming that's why. They're a beautiful little nanofish. A lot of you know the chili Rasbora. They finally came available again, so I thought a giveaway of those would make a lot of people happy. This is literally the most requested fish we have right now. So when people go to our website, let me just show you this. If you go to Dan's Fish and you're trying to buy a fish and it's out of stock, then it'll say add to your wish list. And we know how many people have clicked any given fish. And right now, the fish that most people want is the chili Rasbora. So that's why we thought we would do this giveaway. It's the most wanted fish on our website at the moment. Now, the secret with these guys is a couple things. One, don't use really high flow aquariums. They can have an air stone in there, they can have a sponge filter, they can have a hangout, whatever filter you use. Just the current in the tank shouldn't be really strong. These come from environments that are basically really slow flowing, if they flow at all. Often kind of not, the water isn't moving at all. Really kind of quiet, stillish environments. They come from black water. They literally are collected in peat swamps. The water is extremely acidic and very soft. However, they do very well in hard alkaline water. As long as they're responsibly sourced and taken care of correctly when they first arrive and adjusted to life in aquariums, they're bang up hardy in my experience. The ones we have been stuffed full of baby brine shrimp for the last 2 weeks or so. They're getting nice and fat and sassy, and it's one of the most beautiful little fish. Now give it a little time. When you get it, it's probably not going to be very red, but within a month or so, it takes them a little while to settle in, but once they settle in, then they're just an amazing, amazing, beautiful red fish. As far as shyness goes, what I find with this fish is that if I have a couple in the tank, they're pretty shy. If I have a lot in the tank, they're not shy. They get this group confidence. So in my experience, the key to having them not be shy is to have a nice, decent-sized group of them. You could also have tank mates that help bring them out. I don't know, pygmy cories come to mind. Something that's, you know, bold and swims around and can help draw them out. They'll be a good tank mate for any small, peaceful community fish of an appropriate size. Unless it's a fish that eats super, super fast. These guys will go for the food, but they're pretty slow eaters. So I could imagine that chili Rasboras in with a group of like Tin Winnie Danios might get out competed by the Danios. Even though the Danios are small and are, you know, peaceful and things, I think at food time, these guys would lose out a bit. So I think these was something like CPDs, Petacochina, dwarf Corydoras, the little pygmy type Corydoras, little pygmy hatchet fish. I think they do great with pipefish or toothpick fish. So if you want something in with your toothpick fish, I think these would go well with them. I think they do well with clown killies. That's the type of companions we're talking about. Or don't do that. Instead, do yourself a favor and just get a big group of these. And you'll be rewarded with all kinds of neat behavior and color and really bold, confident fish if you do that. So great little fish. The other thing I want to say about these is we have found really only one source that reliably gets these to us in good shape. So we don't mess around with other sources. We've messed around in the past, and you get the pinch bellies that come in. It's kind of the same thing with CPDs, right? There's almost all the suppliers that I've ever encountered in this industry. You buy CPDs, you're going to have these pinch-bellied little emaciated fish. That happens with these as well. But there is one supplier, and we've been using these guys for the same supplier for well over a year now, and consistently they send us good chili rasboras. So I think the reason I'm saying that is if you've bought chili rasboras before and they were those pinched, emaciated little things and you gave up, just know that it wasn't, and they didn't do well for you, right? And you gave up. It probably wasn't you. That's a supply chain issue. But there is at least one supplier that sells really nice ones. So just be picky. If you're your local pet store and you're shopping around, look for the ones with the nice big bellies, and make sure they've had them for a week or two, before you purchase a fish like this. Because again, these are fish from a blackwater habitat. They aren't going to automatically do well in aquariums, and if they're not transported responsibly through the supply chain, fish from blackwater habitat specifically need careful treatment during that process, or there will be problems. So just be aware of that. But anyway, the group we have has been doing really well for us. So if you would like to win them, enter hot chili. Hashtag hot chili in the chat. That's hashtag HOTCHILI. No spaces, capitalization does not matter. And we will send you a nice group of these amazing little fish that have been unavailable for quite some time, which I think is a good thing. I think it's good when there's seasons on things and the resource can be managed sustainably. I think that's important. Now I want to show you some neat fish that we have available. I'm going to start with this one. This one's a dream of mine. This is Hypsolebius pictoratus. It is a beautiful little killifish. These come from Brazil, I believe. A beautiful annual little killifish from Brazil. We were able to bring some in from a breeder in Europe, and the colors are as good as you see in these pictures. They're stunning. Ours have been absolutely healthy. We haven't had any losses. They're eating really well. They'll eat flakes, they'll eat pellets. They really like baby brine shrimp. They really like bloodworms. And yeah, just a nice little fish. And once again, I want to reiterate that these were brought in legally, that it is legal for me to sell these to you. I've talked to the authorities, and we're fine. So if you like these fish, we've got some good ones for you. Pelvicochromis pulcher. So this is just your normal crib, but this is the blue variety. Now, this is a beautiful picture. I don't know how much it's been saturated with blue to give it kind of that purple color, but the main thing that stands out on the Pelvicochromis pulcher for me isn't necessarily the blue, it's the orange. I love the orange and how it looks on that fish. Really pretty little crib. So if you're into, West African dwarf cichlids and want something a little different, then this is going to be a really hardy, nice fish, just as easy to keep as your normal Pelvicochromis pulcher, just a different color variety. I think I showed these last week, but we finally got them listed yesterday, I believe. This is Ivanacara bimaculata. Absolutely stunning little dwarf cichlid. There's two species in the genus. This is the other one, which we also have available right now. This is Ivanacara adokita. So we have both bimaculata and adokita available right now. Have some snails, the orange rabbit snail, which is awesome, and the yellow rabbit snail. I love how Star Wars-esque these look. They totally look like creatures out of Star Wars with their long snouts. Like I could see like an alien humanoid riding on these guys across a desert in a Star Wars movie. The chili rasboras, purple pencilfish. This group has been amazing. If you like pencilfish and if you've ever had any trouble with this fish in the past, I think this group is going to do well for you. They've been rock solid for us. Really, really good looking and really hardy for us. So those are the main like highlights. There's several other nice things. I guess I should show you this as well. This is some Melanotaenia marisi that we have available. This is a bad picture. It was just taken with a cell phone real quick. The reds on these are absolutely extraordinary. This picture does not show it properly. But the reason I wanted to show you this is it's different looking than the picture we have on our website. So this is this fish in kind of its red coloration. This is the fish that Gary Lang's camera picked up. And this is what they look like in our aquariums because we have white substrate, white sand substrate. So there's all this variety in this species. Just depends on the substrate they're kept on. They can be like orange or they can be red. There's all kinds of coloration on these. And the ones that are the red ones are these. So this small group of 16 here, this picture is of those fish. They're not orange like ours. And I think it's just because the breeder had them on in a different environment. They kept them in a tank that was probably darker. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. But I do know when I went and visited Stephanie's fish shed in Southern California, she kept her marisi in a fairly dark tank, like dark gravel, dark wood in there, and fairly dim light. There was a light on the tank, but it was fairly dim. And those fish glowed a nice red color, like they were beautiful. So I think the substrate and the light that you keep them in is what makes the difference of their coloration. Anyway, usually the ones we sell are those orange kinds, so I wanted to highlight those red ones. Oh, and by the way, they came from our warehouse. So they were Johnny's fish. He took some from our warehouse, the orange ones. He took them to his house as a breeding project. And when they were at his house, they became that orange, that red color. And now he's brought them back. So they're still red though, after being here for a little while. So yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what the difference is. The other difference it could be is the culinary water, the municipal water here in Sheridan, the water Johnny was keeping them in is soft and sometimes a little acidic. And the water in the warehouse is hard and alkaline. So could be that too. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's just interesting to me when he brought them back how different they looked than ours. I like the orange colored one, and I like the red colored one, and I like all the phases in between. It's like a chameleon fish. All right, anyway, those are some highlights that I wanted to show you. And with that, let's get to questions and comments. Let's see, I want to make sure Nightbot is working. It is. Okay. So the first one I can see is Carrie Britton says, the only live stream I've made it to consistently. Perfect timing, sir. Hey, thank you, Carrie. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate that you show up again and again. Thanks so much. Branton Lightcap. You've changed up, oh, I already talked about the Gadaid prices. Yeah, it just depends on our source. Knox, I lost a gold red shoulder Mac as well. Okay, so Knox is having some problems. Let me see what Knox says. about that up earlier if I can find it. Chat does jump, and I can't always find anything. Knox, if that was a gold red shoulder apisto you got from us, and I'm assuming it was, because that is a fish that we sell, and you haven't been taken care of, would you email us at hello@dancfish.com? That's HELLO@dancfish.com. And we can get our customer service on it, make sure you're taken care of. Sakana Katana, already got that one. Okay. And by the way, what I'm looking for those that are new, is as I'm scrolling through, I'm looking for these bright orange boxes. If you type dancefish or @dancefish or #dancefish in your comment, then you can select from a list that will pop up, and it'll turn bright orange for me. And that's what I'm looking for as I'm scrolling down the chat. What's up, Dan? Good to see you, says Kyle. Right back at you, Kyle Hernandez. Hope you're doing well. Wait, what? Spinster Sister gave away 5 Dancefish memberships. Thank you so much, Spinster. Much appreciated. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And welcome, Novazan, to the Fishmonger crew. Thanks for becoming a member of the channel. Hello and welcome. Spoiled Sushi, every time. That name gets me every time. Like, every time I see the name Spoiled Sushi, like, I get this, my nose is smelling the bad sushi. It's like... Is there any difference in size between the dwarf hatchet and the pygmy hatchet? I see one has a black stripe and one has a white stripe. Yeah, the pygmy stays smaller from what I've seen. I want to give a caveat that we often sell fish quickly enough that I don't see them grow to their full size. But the pygmy hatchets we've got, and when we've got them, have been collected in the wild. And so I think they're full grown when we get them. So the dwarfs are a little bit bigger than the pygmies, if I'm remembering right. Yeah, every time I've seen them anyway. It's possible the pygmies were just young, but when you're getting fish out of the wild and you've done it multiple times, usually you've seen adults. And what I've seen on the pygmies is they're quite a bit smaller. Only Oscars. I received a notification for McColgie Oscars, but only one available. Who gets only one Oscar? Yeah, especially if your username is only Oscars. Maybe we should change it to only one Oscar. Yeah, I wish we had more. So we had a batch of McColgie's Oscars a while ago that we sold out of, but there was one that was kind of the runt. So he's been in a tank all his own for the last few weeks, and we've just been feeding him and fattening him up. So he's now nice and fat and sassy and ready to go to his forever home. So that's why we have just one available now. Elsir question. Best way to get rid of Hydra in my planted tank. I fed so much live baby brine and got an outbreak. Yeah, that does happen when we feed baby brine shrimp. For us, we use flubendazole. You could also use fenbendazole, which is more readily available. You can get fenbendazole, like, say, at your local feed store as a dog or horse dewormer. Panicure is a brand name for that. The problem is it's not very water soluble. It comes in a paste. But if you can find a way to take that paste and get it dissolved in your water, that's cheap, easy, and available. Otherwise, flubendazole is the one that is a little more easily used, I would say, in water. A little more permeable in water, if that's the right term. And you can also find flubendazole or fenbendazole, either one in powder. What you might need to do if you find it in a powder form is we mix it with a little bit of vodka, and that, if you mix it in the vodka, it'll kind of become this nice little, what do you call that? I don't remember the term. My bio days from high school are a nice little solution. That's the term, I think. And you can take that once it's kind of not dissolved so much, but dispersed into the vodka and pour that in your tank. If you put it right in your tank, it doesn't really, it's kind of hydrophobic. It won't dissolve in the water very well. But if you mix it with just a tiny bit of vodka first and then put it in the water, then it tends to disperse much more evenly in the water. Now, don't put it in a lot of vodka. You don't want to poison your fish. And I don't know what size tank you're using or anything, but that's what we do here to help disperse that medication. So that's what we use. Hopefully that helps. Ooh, chat jumped a lot. So the next one I can see, it jumped far. Some of you, it jumped so much I won't be able to see your comment. So in that case, feel free to post it again. If you post it above the one by Passing Wind here that I can see that says, hot chili in the city, running wild and looking pretty. Yep. Also, Passing Wind. Dan, Khaki Nurse, when Co-op Corey does a giveaway, if you enter his giveaway more than once, you're automatically disqualified. Does that happen on yours? I don't know if I have it set up like that, but it doesn't help you. So if you enter more than once, it just kind of spams thing. It doesn't up your chances. I did try to do that when I set this all up quite a while ago, but I can't remember. Oh, here it is. Yeah, anti-spam's enabled. So there it is. It's right here. Oh, it's not enabled. Enable. Yeah, I will enable that. I don't want people spamming. So automatically mark users ineligible that post the keyword more than one time. Yeah, I will do that. Well, you know what? I'll do that next time. I don't want to like change the rules on the fly. So, yeah. But just know it doesn't help you if you post more than once. It still only enters you one time. Spinster says, thanks, Johnny, for pulling my platinum veiltail swordtails. They are gorgeous. I'm so glad you got those, Spencer. I know how much you like those veiltail swords, so I was glad that you were able to get those. And yeah, they're good looking. All of them has been awesome. I haven't seen one yet that I'm like, ugh, those don't look good. The pineapples, the oranges, and the platinums or whites or whatever they are, they've all been great. So I'm glad you've enjoyed them. Do you have anything that eats guppies? My guppy population is ridiculous. So yeah, any fish that's big enough to fit a guppy in its mouth will eat a guppy. There are lots of options. Have you tried your local pet store? Sometimes they'll want guppies. Or your local, like, I don't know, Craigslist or Facebook. Oh, Facebook doesn't like selling, does it, live animals anymore? I don't know, Band or whatever app will let you do it. Lady Rorschach, rabbit snails look amazing. What is an ideal environment for them? Can they coexist with other species of snails? Well, ours exists with ram's horn snails and sometimes nerite snails. We also have them in with shrimp quite a bit and plecos quite a bit. This is a note of interest. Those are all critters that they can coexist with and no one gets out competed. So that's how we keep the rabbit snails. Ideal for them, well, these come from the lakes in Sulawesi. A lot of them do anyway. And for those, I would say nice hard alkaline water. That's what those lakes are. So that's almost everyone in the United States. So I think your typical United States tap water, which is generally hard and alkaline, would be just fine for them. I really haven't found them to be delicate or picky or anything. I just feed them a lot. We feed them fish food, flakes and pellets and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes we'll put some zucchini in there and they can go chew on that. But I don't really treat them any different than I do the fish or the shrimp or anything as far as feeding or maintenance or any of that. So no, I found them to be really hardy, neat critters. They are a live bearer, which is interesting. And they aren't going to reproduce as fast as like a ram's horn snail or something. But when the babies come out, they're decent sized. It's not a particularly fast reproducing snail, which I think is a point in their favor because we all know how snails can overrun a tank. I don't think rabbit snails are going to do that. So, I don't know, that's my thoughts on them, lady. I really don't, like, can't think of anything like that is like the secret to unlocking them or anything that, oh, if you don't do this, they're all going to die. In my experience, they've been super easy. Kyle Hernandez, expecting any females of those electric blue pistos you had for a while anytime soon. Geez, I'm trying all the time, Kyle. And every time I hope and cross my fingers, but no, I'm not expecting them to be available. In fact, it's been hard just to get males. So just as soon as I can, I'll get them. And I honestly have no idea when it will be. Nova-san! I purchased your last thread fin and double red epistogrammas today. Awesome. First purchase. Hey, welcome. What size tank do you recommend for a breeding group of 1 male and 3 females for the epistogramma? Could a 29 work or a 40? Either of those could work. I would just make sure that there's plenty of line of sight breaks. Something I like to do is just have a big clump of Java moss that is like, you know, takes up a half or a third of the floor space of the aquarium. And then if anyone has any need to get away, they can just go into the clump of moss. You can also have lots of little caves around, but I would have some dense cover somewhere. It's a decent, you know, proportion of the aquarium. I'd have line of sight breaks, and I'd have a lot of different little caves spread all around, so everyone can find their spot where they're away from the others if they need to get away. But yeah, I think a 29 or a 40 could work. It really depends on if the line of sight breaks are effective, if you have, you know, dense cover somewhere or not. If you don't, you're going to need a much larger tank. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind with these fish. And thanks for your first purchase. That's awesome. Nabokov fan. Hey, Nabokov, good to see you. What's the most interesting shade of green fish you've come across? Okay, so there's these. I like a green sailfin molly a lot. And fairly recently, we were able to bring some in that they were super expensive. And so I almost didn't, but I know the breeder, and we've got a lot of good stuff from that source. So I was like, I'll try them. And so, so I brought them in, and they're like, they're kind of like a wild type green molly, sailfin molly. Excuse me. Oh man. Whew. But with a ton of iridescence. There's these new, to me at least, lines of mollies that are coming out that have these color schemes and iridescences that I've never seen before. And so that was one of them. I might have a picture of it on the website. Series sailfin. Yeah, I do have a picture, but it doesn't really show it. Okay, if you watch the video, you'll see it. So if you go to the website and click Fancy Green Sailfin Molly, but see this? I don't know if it's showing well, but the iridescence on these green mollies was just awesome. So that to me was a really pleasant surprise. Now granted, a green molly isn't necessarily the most green fish ever. For me, I like the green Kubutai Rasbora. I really like Luxothalmus. Let me see if I can find this for you. These guys, Poropanchax Luxothalmus. These are a beautiful little lamprey. They're called the neon green lamprey. That's a nice green fish. Again, it's in the iridescence. So with iridescent fish, it depends on what's important for how good they look. If you have iridescent fish and you want them to look good, some of them look best if they're a little below your eye level. Some look best if they're right at eye level. It depends on the eye level and where the light is situated. But you want to get that angle right, so when you watch them, you're getting the full reflection of that iridescence. That's where the majority of their color comes from. So these, I think, oh, I'm not sharing this. I'm bad at my job. These, I think, are a really neat green fish that you don't see that often. And guys, I order them all the time. I've successfully brought them in a couple times. So they're hard to get, but I'm trying and trying and trying to bring more of these in. I love this fish. I'm a killifish freak, and I like lampreys a lot. And then another one was the green, let me see if I can find this real quick. The green Farawella, is that what it is? Or is the green Otto? Let's see if I can find it. It has like a cone nose. What was that? It's not showing up as an auto. Green Farwella, maybe? Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah. So it's not Farwella. I think it's this one. There's a picture of it in its green phase. It has different coloration, but they do turn this nice green color. I've seen them that color. The problem with this fish, if I can, okay, there's another one. Shows you kind of the green coloration. I thought these were amazing. I really like them. The problem with this fish, though, is here's a picture of one we had. Let me see if I can get in here tight and show you this. This nose, do you see? I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of, it's a long snout, and then at the end it kind of gets this cone on it, like a little pine cone on it. And that thing is full of spikes. And if that ever comes in contact with a net, then that fish is going to get stuck in that net super tight. So I haven't brought them in again because their rostrum, their nose basically, gets damaged during collecting. These are not available from aquarium bred stock. You can only get these from collectors. And when they're catching them in the nets, these noses get caught in there. And so a lot of the ones, I brought them in once because it's a fish I've liked from afar for a long time. I think Mikolji is the one that turned me on to them. Ivan Mikolji. And so I brought them in, and a lot of them had damaged noses because that got caught in the nets during collecting. So because of that, I haven't brought them in again. I don't think anyone's collecting them in a way that I can get behind, that I can feel good about sourcing. But if they ever do, then I'll bring them in again and just never use a net on them, catch them in other ways. But that is a neat fish. The green Farwella, green dwarf Farwella. That's an interesting one. Any Fish will do gifted a Dan's Fish membership. Thank you so much, Any Fish. That is much appreciated. And Bishop's Turtles ask, will dwarf red-tailed eels be back in stock? I wish I knew. Trust me, I try to get that fish every time, all the time. At least monthly, I try to get that fish. And it's not available yet. I mean, literally, I know there's one person I'm aware of that's breeding them. And they've just not had any for quite a while. So hopefully they have some more coming up soon. Mike says, Heiko Blair found a fourth Parachirodon. So is that like the giant spotted emperor tetra? I think so. In Rio Puris in 2006. I can't find any pictures, and it doesn't have a scientific name. Mysterious green, unofficial Parachirodon blairi. Any info? No, this is the first time hearing about it. Let's take a look, though. I mean, if we get lucky, maybe there'll be a picture online here. Oh, for some reason I popped that out. No, it's just taking me to like Hemigramus, not Parachirodon. And it's green. Ah. Let's see, what did you say? A fourth? This is a third. Let's see, what do they say about it? No, this is 1962, so that's different. Yeah. No, I haven't heard of that from Heiko. And I like Heiko. I find him highly entertaining, but I also find some of what he says a little bit suspect, so I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Heiko is introduced a lot of really neat aquarium fish to the hobby, so thanks to him for that. Captain Calamari, like calamari, maybe? Estimated time when panda guppies will be available. It's going to be a while. I still haven't found a good place to get panda guppies. So I've tried them several times, and sometimes a supplier will have them and they'll be good, and then the next time I buy them, they're not good. So it's like, okay, that's not good. So I try someone else, and I've been through that cycle quite a bit. So next time I bring panda guppies in, next time I attempt it, they're probably going to be super expensive because I'm probably going to try them from some European breeders. I've tried lots of places, and I just can't get consistently healthy ones. So once I've run through all the suppliers and I can't do that, then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not doing that right now. So I don't know, maybe I could try a couple of them again, but right now, Captain Calamari, I just don't have a source I trust for them. Scotty the Fish Freak! Thank you so much for your donation to the Aquarium Club of Maryland. It was a great meeting and auction. Oh, you're welcome, Scotty, and I'm happy to help. Yeah. I hope that was exciting for people. Ruben Daly, what are the personalities and behaviors like of those Ivanacara? They're so cool now that I know they exist. Males can definitely be territorial, but they do well with other species of fish. So you can put them in a community aquarium. Mandy got some from us when we had them, geez, I think it was a batch we had back when I was operating out of my garage. So this was a long time ago. And she's still got them, and she has them in with other fish. So I know that. I know once males are mature, they tussle quite a bit. So I'd have a big group of them, or a lot of line of sight breaks and stuff. But I would say their personality, let's see here, when it comes to another cichlid I could compare them to for you, they might be helpful. Maybe like a blue Acara. You know, generally a peaceful aquarium fish, but if you get an aggressive male, you can take out other males. So you have to be aware of that. Someone here who's kept Ivanacara long term, how would you describe their personalities? I'd like to get some more thoughts on that. Because the only way I've really kept them is bring them in as juveniles, put them in a tank. Yeah, there's cover and stuff, but I generally sell them before they become big, mature adults. So that curtails my first-hand experience with a lot of the fish I keep. Is there a dry food you recommend feeding both chili rasbors and pygmy cories? Looking at my food, I guess this could be interesting. So I've got my, right here, I've literally got my feeding cart. And what do I have on it? This is Zoomed Spirulina 20. This is Extreme Krill Flakes. This is the Extreme Peewee. It's kind of an odd size pellet. I don't use it all that much just because I generally want a really big pellet or really small micro nano pellet. So it's kind of an odd size, but when I'm feeding shrimp tanks and stuff that don't care about the size, I'll often use that. Here's the nano, Extreme Nano. That one I like because it's small enough I can feed rainbow fish and stuff. Here's the monster pellet. Scrapers, I think they're called, like the catfish scrapers. And then Hikari Vibrobites. So that's what I was feeding today, along with frozen bloodworms and live baby brine shrimp. The chili rasbors and pygmy cories will eat anything. So what I typically do with the pygmy cories is I'll put in a monster pellet or a big catfish scratcher or something and put that in and let them just graze on it for hours and hours. And they do great on that. And every now and then give them some baby brine shrimp or, you know, something fun. Microworms would be a good one for them. But anything that sinks, they'll eat. They'll eat any flake food that sinks as well. And chili rasboras will learn to eat those dry foods as well. The ones we have right now, we've been stuffing full of baby brine shrimp. So I'll drop like a monster pellet or two in there. 3 actually in that tank. They're in a 75 gallon and there's like a lot of them in there. So I'll feed them like 3 monster pellets and they'll graze on that throughout the day. And then later in the evening when I come around to feed the baby brine shrimp, then I'll give them, you know, a big dose of baby brine shrimp. So they get that. I also feed them the krill flakes as well. So they'll eat a variety. Just be aware that it's going to take any fish. Anytime you introduce a new food, it often takes a little time for them to get used to it before they'll really eat it vigorously. Legion Aquatics. I have a 65 gallon, like 40 breeder dimensions, but okay, so it's a 40 breeder that's extra tall, 2 feet tall. What would you personally stock for a cool community style tank if you had a 65 gallon in that configuration? I think if I had a tall tank, I would do one of 2 things. I would either keep really tall bodied fish, like I'm thinking angelfish or something, to kind of take advantage of that height, or I would see it as an opportunity to really highlight the different strata of the aquarium, the bottom, middle, and top. And so what I would probably do in that is, for me personally, the way I like to keep fish is a lot of small fish in a large tank. I think that's cool. So I'd probably get a species of one of the dwarf Corydoras, Pygmaeus or Histatus or Hebrosus, something in that ilk. And I would get a nice big school of them in a 60 gallon, 65 gallon. I get like at least 30 of them. And this is me personally. I know not everyone wants to, it doesn't keep fish that way, but that's what I would do. Like 30, 40 of them at least. Have those be in the kind of bottom area. And then for the top, I would probably do either a whole bunch of like platinum half-beaks or wrestling half-beaks, dwarf half-beaks. I really like those. Or a bunch of marble or dwarf hatchet fish. Those are both fish that I really like that tend to stay at the top. And I do a big group of those as well. You know, 30, 40 of those. And then for the middle, I don't know. It could be, there's so many small little fish that you could do in the middle. You could do hummingbird tetras, Candelera tetras. I like both of those quite a bit. Ember tetras, nice big group of those. Some of the dwarf rasboras, Kubutai rasboras could be fun. The chili rasbora would be awesome in a setup like that. So that's what I would do. I would pick basically 3 species, have decent numbers of each, and really, you know, show that strata off. That's what I think I would do. You could throw a couple ottos in there and a couple snails and shrimp and things to kind of manage things. But yeah, that's probably how I would do it. Mountain Greenery, happy Valentine's to you and all your fish. Why, thank you so much, Mountain. I really appreciate that. Happy Valentine's to all of you as well. Doesn't feel like Valentine's Day. It has been a long several days. We're getting busier and busier and busier all the time. And we're at the point where we really need to hire some help again. So until that happens, I'm kind of taking up the slack on that. So yeah, it's been long days. But I promised my wife that sometime this week we would actually celebrate. So got to figure out when to do that or I'll be in the doghouse. Plus, you know, I want to spend time with her too. Divide by Zero. I purchased some Shodene puffers from you. Any tips on how to get them onto Vibrabites? Well, ours are on Vibrabites, but sometimes when a fish goes into a new tank, they'll kind of for a while sulk, I guess, get picky and stuff. But for us, literally, Shodene puffers straight from the wild, I think this is true. Pretty much straight from the wild when we get them in, we'll eat Vibrabites, like pretty readily. But here's how I get fish onto new foods. I don't do the like you know, starve them. It's a battle of will, and just they won't eat anything till they eat the food I want to eat. I don't starve them till they eat what I want them to eat. I don't find that to be any more effective than exposure therapy, if you will. So what I do instead is the food I'm trying to get them to eat, I'll feed them just a little bit of that. So if it's Vibrobites, I'd feed them just a few Vibrobites. I don't expect that they will eat them. And I'm talking about introducing fish in general to new food. When I first introduce fish to new foods, I don't expect that they will eat them. But I need to expose them to them so they will learn to eat them. So I'll put in some Vibrobites if that's what I'm trying to transition them to. And then I'll leave them in there for an hour or two. And I'll go back and, oh, they didn't eat those Vibrobites. I will net those out of the tank so they don't just pollute the tank. And then I'll feed them the food that they will eat. And I'll just keep doing that. And after a few days, with some fish it can take a few weeks, but with most fish, and Shodeni puffers in my experience are not picky eaters. Within a few days, call it a week, I would expect the fish to have got used to that enough and mouthed it around enough and such that they actually start eating it when I feed them. So what we're trying to do is feed the fish what we want them to eat and give them time to experiment with it before we feed them what we know they will eat. And usually that works just fine for me. So I find that to be just as effective as I'm just not feeding you anything until you eat this food, without them having to, you know, go hungry and maybe lose body condition in the process. Outside in aquatics, any tips on breeding cribs, the poultures? In my experience outside in aquatics, you just add water. Now, if you're struggling to breed them, and everyone can struggle to breed any fish, there's no shade in that comment whatsoever, then a couple things that they maybe would benefit from. Well, I guess really it's just a little bit of time maybe. So they want to spawn in caves, so I'd make sure I had a variety of caves available, different sizes and different places, so they could pick the one they like. I'd have some dense cover on one side so that their fry can get into it if they need to. But apart from spawning sites, well-maintained water, good food, and time, I can't think of anything else you would need to spawn cribensis, at least pelvicochromis poultures. I mean, they spawn in hard water, they spawn in soft water, they spawn in all kinds of stuff. But maybe to trigger them, a trick you could try if you're having trouble with them is if they're being kept in hard alkaline tap water, is to gradually soften it. Next time you do a water change, make the water a little softer, and then a little softer, and then a little softer. So that's something you could try. You could also try the skip a couple water changes technique and then do a large water change and see if that triggers them. And if you do that when there's a low pressure front coming in, like a storm's approaching, that can sometimes trigger fish to spawn, even cichlids. But in my experience with that fish, really you just keep them wet, keep them healthy, and they'll spawn. I think that's one of the easier fish to spawn. So that's my thoughts outside in. Oh, Knox said Johnny took care of me tonight. Okay, glad to hear it. JTI Aquatics, can't wait for my tetras tomorrow. I can't wait for you to get your tetras tomorrow, and I hope you're absolutely delighted by them. New friends, that's a great username. I'm interested in your opinions about keeping coolie loaches in a tank with mystery snails. I can't say I've tried it. I would be afraid for the mystery snails, but I have seen some tanks that have coolie loaches in them that still have thriving snail populations. And then I've seen other tanks that don't. So I don't know what the variable is there. But, okay, Hive Mind, what do you think? Have you kept coolie loaches with mystery snails? And if you had, and I don't mean like just for a week, I mean like long term, if you have, what is your experience been? Did those coolie loaches eventually eat them all, or was everything okay? Like a year later, they're still all doing great. Let's get the hive mind involved and see if we can give new friends some better information than me saying, well, I've seen it work and I've seen it not work. Christian says, any discount codes for Dan's Fish? No, there are not. We don't do discounts. We don't do sales. We don't do that thing. What we do instead is we source. Our whole business model is very different than everyone else. The way we source fish, the way we maintain and quarantine them, the way we ship them, the way we treat them, it's very different. So basically what we do is we crunch the numbers, say, okay, what's the minimum we can sell this fish for and not go out of business? And we price the fish at that, and we always price the fish at that. And it varies. It's like fish are not a commodity, okay? They're a creature that deserves respect, but like any commodity on any market, the price goes up and down. The price I can get them for goes up and down. The freight prices for shipping them to me goes up and down. All the prices I have to pay to bring fish in and get them healthy and send them to you are constantly going up and down. And, for a while, just going up pretty much. So I have a I have a system. I can plug the fish in, plug my costs in, and know what I have to sell that fish for and not go out of business. So that's how we price our fish. So we don't ever do that thing. Where was I? I was at okay, my son and I got very excited because we went to our local Ace Hardware recently. My son's into woodworking, and they had a very nice little table saw for like, it had been discounted from like $3.99 to like around $100, I think. And we were like, we weren't planning on shopping. We were just going around to hardware stores to look, and we're kind of building a little wood shop for him. So we were, looking at different options and planning that shop and the stuff we would want to get for it. And we saw that thing. We're like, oh, we have to get this now. This is a great deal. This is normally $399. And right now it is I think it was $2.99, something like that. We're like, that's a great deal. But before I buy anything, I always check the market. So I got online and I checked where everyone else was selling it for, and everyone else was selling it for $2.99. So I was like, okay, so it's $100 off of $3.99. That's the sale price is $2.99. But really, that's not. That's the price everyone's selling it for. That's the market price. So it feels to me like what this company did, and I don't see their costs or anything, but it just makes you go, it seems like what you did was you marked it up to $3.99 so you could advertise it as on sale for $100 off. That's what it seems like, because everyone else's regular price is your sale price, right? So we decided long ago that instead of doing sales and having to play those games, that we were just always going to sell the fish at whatever price we had to, the lowest price we could, without, going out of business, staying in business and being able to cover all of our expenses and make a living. So that's how we price everything. The only time you'll see fish for sale from us is if a fish comes in and it's like, and we price it and it's like, no one's buying that. It's been here for 2 months. All right, I guess we'll put it on sale and clear it out, and we know not to bring that fish in anymore. So sometimes we'll do that just because it's like, we got to free up this tank. Like, it's literally just being clogged with fish that aren't selling. Or every now and then we'll be able to get a really good price on a fish from a supplier, and it's like, hey, great, these didn't cost us as much. We can mark these down. But when we do that, we usually don't put a thing on like on sale. We usually just mark it down and don't mark it as on sale. So generally, that's how we operate. Oh, there was another point I was going to make about that, but I've forgotten what it is. Yeah, we're definitely not the place for people that are price sensitive. We're the place for people that want high quality fish that that have been treated humanely. That's what our market is. What's up with the swamp guppies? Do you mean these swamp guppies? They are... They're right here. And right here. They're doing great. Let's see, where's the end of the green screen? There it is. Okay. They're doing great. They're just going through their deworming protocol. So we sent some off to the vet to get examined. She was like, I think I see some wormies in there. So we're deworming them. So as soon as they're through those medications and everything, and they aren't losing, like, they have good body condition and stuff. So I think as soon as they're through that, we'll probably be able to sell them. Okay, where are we at? Traber's Tactics. Would you prefer a 75 or a 60 breeder? If you could only have one tank, the 75 seems a little tall for me. I personally would prefer the 75 because it would allow me to keep high-bodied fish if I wanted to. So a 60 breeder is a great tank. I love that tank. However, if I wanted to keep, say, Altum angelfish, well, those get pretty big, but a high-bodied fish like an angelfish or something like that someday, then I would want the extra height of a 75 gallon. I think that would be helpful for that. Also, if I wanted a neat community tank, I kind of like a taller tank in that case, so I can do that thing I talked about earlier, which is really take advantage of the top, middle, and bottom niches in the tank and put species in that kind of will use those and highlight those different areas of the tank. So for me, if I could just pick one, I'd do the 75, but I like the 62. I mean the 60 as well. I don't think it's a 62 gallon. Broccoli, do you know if you will be restocking Tiger autos in the next few months? I want to. I tried to bring those in just, when was that? A week and a half ago, something like that. And they didn't have any. So as soon as I can, I will bring in more Tiger autos, more Orange Tiger autos, more Giant autos. Man, our last group of Giant autos did fantastic. In fact, I think there might be, Johnny, when I was feeding that tank today, I saw at least 3 in there. So there might be just a few that we can release if you're looking for Giant autos. Anyone out there? So Broccoli, yes, I wish I always had, is that Calocama, the Tiger auto, the Orange and the Giants in stock, and the regular autos as well. But I can't always get them. And there's only one supplier I get those from. I guess I could get them. There are lots of places that would offer them, but there's only one person that really takes care of those fish properly. So they're the only place I get them from, and they don't always have them. Roger Mason, I bought some fish labeled Giant Sparkling Gourami, but can't find much information online about them. Is there a difference between Giant Sparkling Gouramis and the regular ones? I'm assuming what you have is a croaking gourami. Tell me if this looks familiar. Okay. So here's a croaking gourami. It looks very much like a sparkling gourami, but it's quite a bit bigger and has a little bit different color pattern. And that says croaking gourami, but that to me is definitely a picture of a sparkling gourami or pygmy gourami. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me there. Let's see about it. So there's lots of species in this genus. So I'm not sure which one you would have. There's Shallorai. There it is. These are sometimes available. I really like Shallorai. Ooh, and that's from Fish Base, so I'm pretty confident that's correct. So maybe it's Shallorai. That'd be my guess, something like that. So I'm not positive because common names don't give us accurate information, but that's my guess, that it's something like that. Captain Calamari, what do brine shrimp eat? Pretty much anything they can fit in their mouths. They'll eat algae powders, they'll eat rotifers, they'll eat fine powdered foods like like golden pearls, although that is made from brine shrimp, so that's a little macabre. But pretty much anything that'll fit in their mouths. Yeah. If you culture green water, that's an excellent food for them. They're not picky. If it's small and fits in their mouth, they'll pretty much eat it. Yeast, some people feed their brine shrimp cultures on yeast. So lots of different ways to do it. I would refer you to Mike Helwig's book. What is it? What did Mike write? Is it Live Foods? Live Fish Food Book. Mike Helwig. Did I spell that right? Or is it? There it is. Culturing Live Foods. Culturing Live Foods, a step-by-step guide for culturing one's own live foods for the home aquarium by Michael R. Helwig. Great. Oh, that I'm not showing. Here it is. This is a great book. Wow, the hardcover is $224. I should have bought, I have one in its hardcover that I bought back in the day. I should have bought like 50 of them. Holy cow. I'm pretty sure you can get it for less than that though. But that's a great book. $225. Zowie. That's a little nuts. James Espinal. I have a gold red shoulder macrostoma. No, not macrostoma. McMasteri trio, and both females have been laying eggs, but the eggs keep disappearing into. Wait. But the eggs keep disappearing. Only tank mates. Okay, punctuation, James. I beg you. Punctuation. Only tank mates are carry tetras and autos. Any tips? Should I remove eggs? You can remove the eggs. It's a lot easier to remove the fry, but you could remove the eggs. You could put them into a egg tumbler at a very, very low flow. And I've definitely hatched eggs that way. You can do that. You know, a lot of apistos need practice. So they need to spawn several times before they really get it. And it's definitely possible that the carry tetras are eating their eggs. Or if they hatch, mobbing the wrigglers. Like a school of tetras, they're fast. And when they get all excited about food, they're basically little piranhas. And they will give a defending mother apisto a run for her money. Autos, if they're active at night, they can sneak in, and I assume they could scrape eggs off a rock or wherever she laid them. So it's possible the tetras and autos are eating the eggs. So you might want to remove them and then give the apistos a few more tries and see if they figure it out. Often they will figure it out. Okay. So this is more info from Knox, who's reporting on a gold red shoulder McMasteri apisto that came in DOA or not good. I don't know exactly which one it is. Came in a little cool at 74. Oh, 74 is perfect. 74 degrees is what I shoot for. Oh, there was. All right, we do fast the fish really carefully, like in their own bag before we send them, but it looks like this guy snuck a lunch on, pooped in the bag, and it had high ammonia. Yeah. That if you got 6 from us and one had nasty water and high ammonia, I bet that's what happened. I'm sorry to hear that, Knox. I'm glad Johnny took care of you. But, you know, so for those that don't know, the way we ship fish is the day before we send the fish to you, we catch it and we put it in a bag. And we do that because there's nothing in the bag for it to eat. Even if you don't feed a fish in the fish tank, there's still a lot of stuff there for them to eat. There's algae, there's detritus, there's all kinds of critters. So you can withhold food from a fish that's in an established aquarium, and it'll still find a lot to eat. So we catch them and we put them in a sterile environment, if you will, where there's no food for them to eat. So they have a chance to empty their bowels before we ship them to the customer. And then the next day we change that water and give them 100% clean water, pack them up and send them to the customer. Almost always, like statistically, like always, pretty much. That results in the fish getting to the customer with nice, clean water, and there's no problems. But every now and then, a fish will sneak its lunch, right? And we'll change the water, everything looks fine, we'll pack them up, everything looks fine, and then for some reason, they'll have held on to their bowel movement until the box is all sealed up, and then it'll happen in the bag, and sometimes that can be a problem. So I think that's what happened in that case. Well, that's surprising because like that almost never happens. Okay, oh shoot, chat just jumped, and I missed Ki Itumetsi. Any more gold roseline barbs available? Yes, we have some. Let's see here. They should be roseline. They should be there on the website if you type in roseline. Ooh, add to the wish list. I have a feeling that later this week we'll have more available. I could be wrong. We did sell quite a bit, but we still have several. So I don't know. Maybe we did sell them all. Now that I think about it, we got several large orders for those recently. So here's what I'm going to say. Most likely, we'll have a few listed next week. What we'll need to do is pack all the ones that were ordered, send them out next week, and then we can get a real accurate count and see, oh, there's a few left over, and list those. So I would say that next week, Thursday or Friday, we'll probably have more listed. If there's any more available, that's when they would be listed. And I do expect to get a new shipment of those on Monday of next week. Those will be coming out of quarantine probably 2 weeks after that. Those almost always do really well for us. Jeff Kane, Dan, new release. Quality, informative books are hard to come by in the digital world. Books are expensive to print and ship. Yeah, well, that one apparently is $225. I think I bought it for $12.99, $19.99 back in the day. Yeah, and maybe there's a Kindle version, I'm not sure. Brian, sure, here I am thinking my tanks are good. Then Dan's like, oh, we have chilies. And now I'm like, I can move some stuff around. Thanks. I know, Brian, I know the struggle is real. I get it. The musical fish. I feel your pain, and I'm happy to feed the need. You're welcome. Eloy L. Hey, Dan, my first order arrived in perfect shape. Any way to help my bluegrass guppy stay calm when I approach the tank? You can turn the light off for the first while until it gets comfortable in its new surroundings. The main thing I think is just a little bit of time. Like in short order, those domesticated guppies will start to associate you with food. And then anytime we go up to the tank, they start coming out to us because they're like, please feed me. After a few days, they're all up at the front of the glass just saying, feed me, feed me, feed me, right? So I think just in a little bit of time that guppy's gonna come up and beg for food. In the meantime, maybe the light off. You know, you still need some room light so it can see and you can see, but the tank light itself maybe turn off. And also just slow movements. So I catch a lot more fish a lot more quickly if I go up to the tank slowly, move the lid slowly, get my net and kind of slowly go through. And that's not a net, that's just a plant waving in the water. Get them over, slowly scoop them up. I mean, once I get them in the net, maybe I'll do a quick motion at that point, but usually, you know, just go. In fact, a lot of fish, if you kind of get them over and get them going, you're just going slow, they'll just start swimming into the net, and you just kind of slowly scoop them all up. So those are my two things. Give it a little time, they'll warm up to you. Guppies, I don't know of any guppy that long-term hasn't come up to me and said, like, feed me, please, like after a week or so. Less light and slow movement. That would be my biggest thoughts on that. And thanks for the first order. That's very exciting. Cole Pepper 402. Honey gouramis versus pearl gouramis for a 55-gallon community tank. Would you recommend a different centerpiece fish? I would definitely recommend a different centerpiece fish. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But first, I mean, my favorite personally is the pearl gourami. I just think they're stunning, and they get nice and big, a true showpiece, centerpiece fish. Honey gouramis also really neat. Don't get as big, but nice little fish. So if you want to keep smaller fish in this community aquarium, I'd probably go with the honey gourami, because it's less like, because the pro gourami, there's some fish that'll stay small, and the pro gourami might eat them when it gets full grown, whereas the honey gourami won't get as big, and it might be less likely to do so. The problem is, I have never found a honey gourami or a pro gourami that wasn't inflicted, that didn't carry iridovirus. So I can't recommend them for the tank. Dwarf gouramis, honey gouramis, pro gouramis. Is there another one? At least those species. I've access to a lot of suppliers. And with a couple of exceptions of some South American suppliers, I think I've literally tried gouramis from all of them. Even sources from, high-tech countries that have the best of the best equipment and farms and are real expensive and stuff. I have never found any that didn't have iridovirus. So that's why I can't recommend them. I could be wrong. I haven't tested every gourami in the industry, but my feeling is that pretty much every gourami in the trade has iridovirus, at least is a carrier of it. So I'm talking about honey gouramis, pro gouramis, and dwarf gouramis. I don't know about the blue gouramis and gold gouramis and some of those. I have had moonlight gouramis that were good long term, didn't have the problem, but that's why I wouldn't recommend them. However, if you do have a source that is iridovirus free, then by all means, they're awesome. Go for it. And please let me know who that source is, because I'd love to know. Oh, geez, it's 2 minutes to the end. We better do this drawing. We're going to give away some chili Rasboras. We're going to do that right now, because we've got 2 minutes left. And the winner is, out of 392 eligible users, the winner is... Wait, I typed keyword. I was supposed to type roll, or click roll it. Our terms of service. Well, isn't that beautiful? Roll it. Okay. Rodox, the Ember Tetra Avatar. You have won. You have 2 minutes to chime in. Let us know you're here, because you do have to be present to win. I'm setting my timer for 2 minutes right now. 2 minutes is going. So if in 2 minutes you haven't chimed in the chat and left a comment and said something, you can say anything, but we just need to know you're here. Then you forfeit your winnings, and we will draw someone else. So hopefully in the next 2 minutes we hear from you. Big Steve's Glass Gox? I got that confused. Let's try again. Take it back. Big Steve's Glass Box Creations. There you go. Gifted a membership. Hey, Big Steve, thank you. Thank you. That's seriously one of the most helpful ways to support the channel. The memberships are awesome, so thank you. And then Greg Gibson says, I purchased a tree of your trout Gudaids. Would you recommend them in a 330 with Maboo and Roseline sharks, or a 135 with medium clown loaches, or neither? Well, if you're talking about you just purchased them, they're going to be big and chunky. The Roseline sharks won't bother them. I don't think the clown loaches will bother them. The wild card there is the Maboo. So I've never kept a Maboo puffer, but I've follow Aquarium Co-op, and I've seen how Corey keeps his with lots of, fish in the tank with them. But there's always the off chance that in the act of feeding, the Maboo could be going for a piece of food, and the trout Gudaid could at the same time, and there could be an unfortunate accident. So it's not impossible that the Maboo could eat your trout Gudaid. So that's the one wild card. I know a lot of people do keep other fish with their Maboos. So I guess that's the only question I would have. I don't think clown loaches are going to have a big enough mouth to slurp them down or anything. But your clown loaches might like it warmer, and trout Gudaids like it cooler. So I don't know what temperatures you're keeping these tanks at, but just based on personality of the fish and compatibility, I would just say the only wild card there is the Mabu. It's probably going to be okay in either of those tanks, but there could be an accident with the Mabu. But I think the rest are all fine. Okay, it has been 2 minutes. Yes, it has. Let's see. There you go. Rodox has chimed in and says, I'm here. Yep, I'm here. All right, Rodox, congratulations. You have won the giveaway for some chili Rasboras. There are a lot of jealous people here right now because that is the most wanted fish right now here at Dan's Fish. More people have requested that fish over the last little while than anything else because they haven't been available for quite a bit. So good on you. Please send us an email with your first name, your last name, your mailing address, and we will get things sorted out and figure out when to send those fish for you. So congrats again. Thanks for playing. And that is it. We're out of time. So I guess I'll just shut this down. I'm going to start by thanking my moderators for being here and moderating. Kaylers, Aquatics and Reptiles, I know you're not here right now. I hope you feel better soon. Let's see here. Everyone that's a member, thanks for being a member. And if you gifted memberships, double thank you. If you threw money at us in live chats, that's awesome. Or super chats, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Always appreciated, never required, but it does help and we appreciate it. If you're active in the chat, thanks for participating, making that lively, giving us something to discuss. If you aren't active in the chat, I still love you. Hail the Lurker Nation. If you're watching the replay, hello from the past. And if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for being patient while I finally got these loaded, and thanks for listening. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. We'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I sincerely hope you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.